the Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
Welcome to Beach Talk Radio. This is a special edition. I'm here with Tracey Galloway from the Community Cooperative, and I'm so happy to have you on today. Thank you for making this time for us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And you have another member of your staff joining us today. Who is that?
We have Jamie Campbell. She's our Division Director of Social Services and directly involved with the outreach that we have at the beach.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us as well.
Thanks for having me.
Exactly what is the Community Cooperative and how long has it been in existence?
Community Cooperative has been in existence now for 35 years. We're actually celebrating our 35th anniversary this year in 2019. And it was started by a group of folks who attended the downtown churches here in Fort Myers, where our main office is located. Our mission is to end hunger and homelessness in Lee County. So what started as really kind of a mission of just feeding people who were in need through a small soup kitchen has grown over the 35 years, really with the evolving with the needs of the world and the needs of our community and the growth of our community. And now we're a comprehensive human services agency. So we have feeding programs through our cafes. We have mobile food pantries, and we have Meals on Wheels. And then we have a growing healthy kids program that we work with children who are food insecure, children who are homeless, who are in families who are struggling. We also have of course, the division that Jamie runs, and that's our social and education resources. So that's our case coaches and social workers, and we wrap all of those social services and education services around all of our feeding programs. It really tries to create positive, sustainable change in someone's life because they come to us in all different capacities of need. We don't work with just homeless individuals, which a lot of people on the beach, that's usually what they picture us as doing because that's mainly the population that we deal with on the beach. But we work with children through the elderly and pretty much every aspect of their lives once they fall into a need situation.
35 years is a long time, and that runs the whole gamut of age.
Yes. It really started just as what you would consider kind of a traditional soup kitchen. Mm-hmm. But as we grew, it was in 2005 when we merged with a group that had the Meals on Wheels. So now we do Meals on Wheels for all of Lee County, and we actually extend into the North Naples area just because of the way the delivery routes tend to work. We deliver Meals on Wheels and other food services from Pine Island and North Fort Myers out to Lehigh, Bonita, out to the beach. And we don't do Meals on Wheels out at the beach yet. It's a difficult delivery situation out there, and season doesn't help.
No. Trying to get down there in season
and honestly,
difficult.
When we started working with God's Table, even before we took over, we were just helping them, but that is right about the time all of the road construction began, and we kept saying, well, we'll wait till that's done. And we were just out there
and
the other
we're
week,
waiting.
And I realized that it's still not done.
Now, I will say they have shaved off. That's a hot topic down there, but they have shaved off quite a bit of time in their projections. So I don't think you'll have to wait too much longer.
Well, it's on our radar. So, when we can get to the point where we have enough steady volunteers, that's a big piece of it. Our Meals on Wheels deliveries are really dictated by our volunteers who can deliver it. We don't deliver out on Sanibel or Captiva. They have their own small organization that helps the elderly are kind of homebound out there. But we know the beach, there is some need. And so if there's people who are in desperate need, we find ways to assist them. But that's the growth potential for us out on the beach.
And so what is your title here and your responsibilities?
Well, I'm the CEO. So I've been here this is my 8th year.
Nice.
So I'm pretty much in charge of everything, but I have a great management team who's in charge of all of the different programs that I mentioned earlier. And Jamie here has got one of the biggest responsibilities with all of our social services components, because within her social services area is all of the homeless services for our chronically homeless, our temporarily homeless, our families who are homeless, who are living in cars and hotels on the streets. And our big piece of what we do is prevention. And so our goal is to keep families and individuals who are on the brink of homelessness from ending up homeless. And I'm sure as many of your listeners know that if we can catch somebody before they're homeless, it's much easier to help get them turned around and back on their feet. Once people fall off that cliff, it's kind of into the homeless world, it's a long time and it's very expensive. It can be very expensive and up to a year or more to get them in stable housing and kind of back on their feet.
Right.
So that's a big piece of what we do is the prevention component.
And do you have a soup kitchen here? Do you serve out of this building?
Yes. So where we are now is our main offices, which is downtown Fort Myers, which is not far from where the churches are of the folks who were the founders of this organization, and what Fort Myers east of the downtown area, which is the Dunbar area. And so this is where a lot of the need is, especially with the homeless. We're not far from the jail. We're not far from the bus station. We're not far from the Salvation Army and Lee County Human Services and a lot of other agencies, Salus Care, which is the mental health organization. So there's just a lot of agencies and organizations kind of in this area. So it's a good place to be. And yes, this is where our community cafe, which is the soup kitchen, and this is where our commercial kitchen is. So all of our food production comes out of this location.
The food production is here, and then it goes down to God's Table on the beach?
Yes and no. So all of the food production for all of our Meals on Wheels and all of our soup kitchen or the cafe here, and we also do some school lunch programs with some schools. So all of that food is produced here. What we do with God's Table, and a lot of what we do here too, is what we call our food rescue program. So big push that we've had for the last 3-4 years, but really heavily in the last 2 probably, is food rescue. So we work with a lot of organizations who have prepared foods that are going to get normally tossed out.
Okay.
So Publix, Panera, the Broadway Palm, 7-Elevens, racetracks, a lot of the places you'll go and get sandwiches that are prepared, or Broadway Palm they're the dinner theater.
Right. So
you go in and they have that big buffet. So every Monday we pick up about 2,000 pounds of food from them that are pans of food that they haven't served on their buffet. And so a lot of that is what we now take down to the beach, because that gets served 5 days a week. We're open in the morning there even though it's breakfast time, we don't necessarily always serve breakfast foods. We'll have a variety of food available for the folks who come in who want to eat. And they enjoy having something different than your traditional oatmeal and
I've been to the Broadway Palm. They have nice stuff on their buffet.
I mean, they might have chicken parmesan one day. Right. Well, you never know what you're going to get. Pork tenderloin, there's all kinds of great stuff. But a lot of other things that we get are, like if you would go into a racetrack or a 7-Eleven, there's subs and sandwiches and breakfast sandwiches, fruit cups and yogurt and the cheese and vegetable platters, just any of that grab and go type things that you might see in a place like that. Panera, we get tons of bread, obviously, because they make it there every day. Publix, we get tons of bakery items. I always say there is no shortage of carbohydrates available in Lee County.
So then the food gets repurposed, which is great, rather than thrown out.
Correct. So we have a big group of volunteers plus some of our drivers who are on schedules, and they pick them up every day at different locations all throughout Lee County.
And then it goes down to...
And then, so we'll take, what we need in terms of inventory goes to the beach, because we don't have a lot of storage space there, because Chapel by the Sea is gracious enough to give us space. So we don't have a big commercial kitchen. There is a kitchen there, but the church uses that for their needs too. So we are really logistically attuned to what we can store down there, how many folks we have, so we know what is getting consumed.
And so you said that's 5 days a week?
Yeah. So Monday through Friday from 7, Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, 7 to 8:30-ish, 8:15, 8:30 is when we're open for feeding purposes for folks to come in and eat.
How many would you estimate are down at the beach that benefit from your services?
That use our services? It's funny because Jamie and I were just talking about this. We just finished up actually all of our 2018 figures. These are meals served, not individuals.
Okay.
So one person may eat every day or 3 days or 2 days a week. So we served 12,480 meals.
Wow. In last year.
Yes. So
just at the beach?
Yes, just at God's Table.
Wow.
Overall, for our whole organization, including Meals on Wheels, it was almost 173,000 meals that we provided to folks who were in need of food. Last year, 1.1 million pounds of groceries were distributed through all of our mobile pantries and our pantry programs. Just like we have anywhere, the beach is not different really when it comes to the homeless population. There are folks who are chronically homeless, who have been homeless and are probably going to remain homeless for the majority or the rest of their lives, just depending on what their situation is. And we always look at those folks as ones who our job is to keep them safe. We keep them fed, if they need clothes, if they need referrals. Some of them need to have referrals for doctors for health issues and, mental health, SALIS care or addiction services. But most of the ones that are chronic, mostly older, they've been that way for a while for whatever the reason is. But a majority of the folks that we work with are not chronically homeless. They may have been, by a textbook definition, considered chronic because they've been homeless for, more than so many months, more than a year. There's a lot of minutia when it comes to definitions of homelessness and who's homeless according to what government agency. Most of the folks that we deal with in the beach is not any different than the rest of the population that we deal with in Lee County. A lot of them are what we call temporarily or, transitionally homeless. They've lost a job for whatever reason. They've been injured. Their disability ran out. They lost down to a part-time job and they lost all of their insurance and, just every story you can think of. But those are the folks that we seek. So you might see them for a period of time. And Maria, who is our program coordinator. She's a case coach for us, but she also is the actual on-site program coordinator for our beach outreach, works with them pretty diligently to make sure that they get referrals to where they need. They might need to get referrals for housing and through the VA if they're veterans, or they might just need a haircut and a shower because they need to go to a job interview, but they're living on, in the woods or in their car. We have all kinds of stories from the beach that we don't have here. We get folks at spring break, kids that come down and for whatever reason, they're still here after spring break is over. We had one who lost a suitcase one year and didn't have any way to get in touch with anybody. So Maria helped him get what he needed. So sometimes it's as simple as that. We also have a lot of people who pick up from family. I think it was a husband and wife and 2 or 3 kids from Kentucky. It was last summer, beginning of last summer, but after season. They came down and they thought that, we're going to go to Fort Myers Beach. There should be so much opportunity there because where they were is a little tiny town in Kentucky where there was nothing available in ways of jobs, and came down, and obviously it was after season and people don't always realize that we're very seasonal. The husband thought he was going to have a job that he didn't. So they ended up coming to see us. And so they were living in their car. So Maria had to work with them to get them what they needed. Now, they weren't considered Lee County residents, so it was difficult for us to help, but, she helped.
So that is a stipulation?
If there's dollars involved from any funds that are available to us through, sometimes the county has dollars that are available for folks if they need to get into a hotel or if they need assistance with housing or things depending on what it is, there's stipulations. In their case, she helped them and they ended up reaching out to some family. When there's children involved especially, we really try to go above and beyond. But, so there's all kinds. When we say our homeless population, it's not always just the people you think of that you see walking up and down the street every day. There's a lot of different stories behind the word homeless.
Now, at the beach specifically, has there been any backlash from the recent incident that happened down there with Dr. Hummerding towards the homeless or towards your guys' efforts?
Backlash is, I guess, a strong term, but I think what has happened, unfortunately, a very difficult situation, and it's a horrible situation with what happened. And I feel especially bad for the criticism maybe that the church has gotten, because the church is gracious enough to allow us to host this program on their property. And a lot of our volunteers are their church members, and couldn't do it without the volunteers. I have one employee out there, so pretty much everything we do is volunteer driven. And I think a lot of them are feeling the heat, especially in the climate that the beach is in right now with the big election coming up. Sadly, I think there's been some politics involved in that. What I really want to hit home to the folks in the community is that just like when there ever is any kind of devastating situation that occurs, is to use use it to learn. He was someone who wasn't immune to dealing with the homeless population.
Yeah, that's what we heard.
I think that he would want this to be a learning lesson for everyone on how better to handle situations that someone might have. He wasn't somebody who had never had an interaction with any of the homeless persons who were part of that population on the beach, but a lot of people that have interactions have never had that type of interaction. For us, we just want to continue to do what we're doing because what we're doing is the right thing in helping the folks who are in need, for the community to use it as a learning opportunity on how can we help this group of people better, and how can we be better at recognizing
and
when
that one individual does not define the whole group, that the group of homeless people deserve our compassion and our help, and that situation is not defining of all of the individuals in that group.
And that's very true. And we've tried to do that everywhere because sadly there's been situations all throughout Lee County where there's different incidents that have happened with folks who have been connected to the homeless population. Sometimes rightfully so, and other times isn't necessarily the case. But in this case it is. You can't let that one incident define the entire population of people who are in need and that use services such as our services at the beach.
Right.
The outreach there is for anybody on the beach that's in need. And I think that's something that hasn't been understood enough by the beach community because we tend to get the folks who come in who are homeless, which is fine. But Maria is there and Jamie works really hard to bring in other partners. We're a big United Way partner. And so we have a lot of contacts through other organizations like Salus Care and Family Health Centers. St. Vincent de Paul is there. Working now after what has happened, we are really trying to ramp up our outreach, that we have contacts here off island that we are trying now really hard to encourage them to come onto island. And, I'm sure from the beach it's hard to get folks out there, especially during season. It's not easy for somebody who has a big responsibility of serving the community as one person from like a Salus Care, it's one person whose responsibility is to try to work with folks who are addicted or depressed or any kind of other mental instability to get them out on the beach because it's a half a day project to get them out there to be there really behind a desk for an hour. So we're really pushing our folks that we work with to say it's really important, especially now. Give us a couple months and test it out and let's go see if we can really make a difference. And what we're doing is we've created a calendar and it's going to be shared. Jamie creates it every month. We do this for all of our locations everywhere in Lee County that we serve, but it's a calendar and it shows what times, and it's always going to be in the morning because that's when we're there. Who's going to be there. It'll always be on site at the chapel property, sometimes in the building, other times it might be out. If the health department might come out, sometimes they have a bus, or McGregor Clinic who can come out and do some work as well. It's not just going to be services that only homeless people can use. We want all the community, if they're in need. Maybe they're depressed. Maybe somebody's got an alcohol addiction. Maybe somebody knows that there's somebody in need who's hungry and elderly, or works with somebody who lives off the beach but works on the beach who needs to say, they're really struggling and I'm afraid that they need some help. That's really why we're there.
We have heard that down there as well, that there's a lot of folks that are at risk, that are really hanging on with their fingernails to make ends meet. Your organization is to help cover some of that. They can get some free food. We had the red tide, and so a lot of those service workers lost out on a lot of income. That is a need too, and that you guys are able to meet that need for those folks.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things is for the community to know that when they see people or know people that are in need, that there's a lot of help on the beach. Beach Baptist has a food pantry once a week, and they offer assistance to get people food stamps and other programs through their access, which we offer as well, but they offer it on the beach. So we try not to duplicate services. But between that and what we do, and, there's always somewhere that they can call and just make a referral. That to me is really people are paying attention now for a really sad and tragic reason. you have to take advantage of an opportunity to make people aware of the good that can come out of something like this. And it's hard to say that, and it hurts, I'm sure, for the people who are really close, but I know that that is what you would want us to have this conversation.
What, if anything, can the community do to help your efforts or the efforts of the agency?
Well, we need volunteers all the time. Jamie's shaking her head. Yes, yes, yes. So volunteers are really important for us everywhere we serve. And during season, it's really not that much of an issue because we have a lot of our, what we call our regulars, but they're seasonal. So when they leave after Easter or maybe earlier than Easter this year, since Easter is so late, we are scratching, we lose about 30% of our volunteer group all across, Lee County after season. So if you're there in the summer, come and volunteer. I think you'll see a different side of what we do or what you think we do there. And it's really rewarding. It's really rewarding to volunteer. We had more than 3,000 volunteers all across Lee County last year who put in almost 45,000 hours of volunteer service for us. We only have 20 employees for what we do, which is not a lot. So what we do is only because of our volunteers. So if you can't and you want to support what we do, we'll welcome donations.
In terms of food and finance?
In terms of food and finance. But I would challenge everybody in the community to, even just for an hour in the morning, get up and come down. Even if you're not going to work, just come down and say hi to the volunteers, help them wash a dish in the morning, and just see what we do. I think that you'll see that there's so much good that happens, and there's so much compassion from the people who are trying to help our fellow neighbors in need. I mean, that's the bottom line of what we do, and that's what we're here for. So come walk a mile in somebody's moccasins, and I think you'll see...
Flip-flops.
Or flip-flops. Yes, I guess we are on the beach. Come walk a mile in somebody's flip-flops. I think you'll see what we do in a different light.
Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today?
No, I'm just really glad that you had us on. And, our website is communitycooperative.com, and that's got all the information about what we do, who we serve, how we serve, where we serve. And it's also got all of our emails and phone numbers. So if somebody has questions or is interested in participating somehow in our organization,
we will include all of that in our show notes as well. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.